Holy shit. He said what?
Many people are calling for Harry, or at least his children, to be removed from the line of succession. Once in the practice of picking and choosing who could become monarch, then why not just make it an elected position?
I was very briefly on the surrogacy bandwagon very early in Meghan's first pregnancy with Archie. She was just very weird about her bump. I mean, it drew more attention to it, but not in like a positive way. You're just like, why are you touching your stomach so much? You really don't. You just had a big burrito breakfast. That's what it looks like right now. Why are you cupping nothing? It was very bizarre.
Breaking right now, Thomas Markle Jr., the sister of Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, has lashed out at his sister and her husband, Prince Harry, in the most brutal interview he has ever given. Meghan Markle is always attempting to, shall we say, build relationships with very, very, very rich men.
Royal family, you should be so thankful this woman wanted to leave because she's not going to bring any good.
They are off the A list, they're off the B list. I don't even think they make the C list anymore. So
you see, you really see now she's out of things, and it's her own fault because she's taking it too far, and people can see through her.
poor old Meghan, in terms of this lavish wedding in Venice, would love to be there myself, by the way. I didn't make the guest list either. But Meghan will be dying a bit inside over this, no doubt about it.
This you're describing, Harry, is called being high. I mean, it brings new meaning to your highness. Exactly. I think that this is a big
name, your highness.
Is this Prince Harry's most damaging moment yet?
Other news today, more drama for Prince Harry and wife Meghan.
They had their HRH titles scrubbed from the royal family's website.
Prince Harry, this is probably one of the worst few months of his life.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
We all know the divorce is imminent. Things are not well in Montecito. I'm just calling it now. It's on my card for 2025.
Oh, you say this is the year they divorce?
It's in my celebrity death pool, this marriage, for sure.
One question, just one, and it shook the royal fandom to its core. Should Prince Harry, or even his children, still be in the line of succession? Sounds extreme, right? But the moment it was asked, it was like something cracked open. Suddenly, people weren't just questioning titles. They were questioning the entire foundation of Meghan and Harry's carefully built image, and whether it was hiding something much deeper. Because if you've been following closely, you know the story never quite added up. The exits, the interviews, the private births, the vague timelines, it all felt too curated. And for the first time, even royal commentators are saying what others were afraid to. This isn't just drama. This could be the moment the crown lost control of its own narrative.
Poor old Meghan, in terms of this lavish wedding in Venice, would love to be there myself, by the way. I didn't make the guest list either. But Meghan will be dying a bit inside over this, no doubt about it.
Sources say Meghan and Harry believe they could rewrite the royal rulebook, walk away, silence critics, still cash in. But what happens when the institution they left starts to question if they ever played fair to begin with? This isn't just about punishing a prince. It's about restoring a line that some believe was quietly broken, not by rebellion, but by secrecy. And it all started unraveling with one birth, one bump, and one story that never made sense.
I was very briefly on the surrogacy bandwagon very early in Meghan's first pregnancy with Archie. She was just very weird about her bump. I mean, it drew more attention to it, but not in like a positive way. You're just like, why are you touching your stomach so much? You really don't. You just had a big burrito breakfast. That's what it looks like right now. Why are you cupping nothing? It was very bizarre.
From the moment Meghan Markle first revealed her pregnancy, something felt off. It wasn't just the timing. It wasn't just the secrecy. It was how everything around the birth of Archie seemed scripted, yet none of it actually made sense. Royal reporters noticed it first. One moment, Meghan's bump would appear unusually small. The next, it looked completely different. She was constantly cradling it in public, sometimes even at odd angles. At first, fans brushed it off, but then the rumors started. People began whispering about surrogacy. Some even claimed, without proof, that Meghan had padded her bump. And while there's no official evidence of any of this, the fact that such bizarre theories even gained traction, that says a lot.
Well, you omitted the crucial piece of information, just like you omitted where the birth took place. Why? Why couldn't we know the doctors? Why couldn't we know the details? That is royal tradition. It was all very, very odd.
But here's what made it worse. Every time the public asked for clarity, the palace responded with more confusion. According to Dan Wooten, who was a senior editor at The Sun at the time, the timeline didn't add up. Meghan allegedly gave birth in the early hours, but the palace didn't announce she was even in labor until hours after Archie was born. Why? When reporters pressed for answers, they got vague responses. The media alert didn't go out because of a technical error. The birth wasn't confirmed right away because of privacy. And yet, US TV networks somehow got the timing just right. Coincidence? Or was someone playing both sides? Sources close to the matter say Meghan and Harry wanted full control over how the birth was covered. That's their right. But in doing so, they broke from nearly every royal tradition. No hospital steps photo, no official medical details, no royal doctors confirming the delivery, just an Instagram post and a growing list of questions. And those questions didn't fade. They multiplied, because when the people start filling in the blanks themselves, things can spiral, and fast. And what spiraled next was something even Buckingham Palace couldn't contain. When the confusion around Archie's birth exploded, Buckingham Palace had a choice: come clean or cover up. They chose to stall. According to royal reporter Dan Wooten, Meghan allegedly gave birth early in the morning, but the palace didn't even tell the press she was in labor until hours later. By that point, Archie had already been born, and the excuse? A technical issue. Apparently, emails weren't sent, alerts weren't triggered, media outlets were left in the dark. But here's the thing, this is the royal family. We're talking about one of the most tightly controlled institutions on Earth, and the idea that they simply forgot to send an email, that's when suspicion turned into disbelief. Even more bizarre, during that delay, Sky News broke the story that Meghan was in labor. Yet behind the scenes, palace press officers were allegedly still denying any birth had happened at all. Moments later, boom, Instagram post. The baby had arrived, just like that. No doctor's statement, no press conference, no transparency. So why the cloak and dagger routine? Some observers believe this wasn't a glitch, it was a strategy. Because that announcement dropped at exactly the right time to hit American morning TV. Coincidence? Or a calculated move to shift focus away from British tabloids and toward a US audience? One that Meghan was allegedly already preparing to impress? Even Buckingham Palace's answers raised eyebrows. When Dan Wooten sent them direct questions, why the delay? Why the secrecy? Why the denial? He got a carefully worded list of responses. But the answers only created more gaps. And instead of clearing up confusion, they made it worse. The media felt misled. The public felt shut out. And for the first time in decades, it felt like the royals were running from their own story. But as strange as that moment was, what Meghan and Harry did next only deepened the cracks. To the public, it looked like privacy. To the press, it felt like deception. But to critics inside the royal bubble, Meghan's entire handling of her first pregnancy was something else entirely. A game of control. From day one, Meghan and Harry made it clear they'd do things differently. No public hospital photos, no detailed announcements, no royal doctors on record. But behind that desire for privacy, some observers say there was something more strategic at play, a deliberate attempt to rewrite how the monarchy deals with public perception. And that's where things began to spiral. By choosing secrecy over tradition, Meghan didn't protect her image. She fractured it. Suddenly, every unexplained detail became a conspiracy theory. Every delay was seen as manipulation. Every decision looked like it had something to hide. And with no official narrative to ground the story, wild rumors took over. Whispers about a surrogate surged online. Some even claimed Meghan was renting children. Claims that, while unproven and likely false, spread like wildfire because of the vacuum of truth. Even royal insiders seemed caught off guard. Commentators like Brittany from Royal News Network admitted they briefly questioned whether Meghan was actually pregnant at all. Not because of any real evidence, but because of how strangely the entire situation was managed. From the oddly shifting baby bump to the constant belly cradling in public, nothing felt natural. Nothing felt royal. What made it worse? According to sources, UK surrogacy laws are strict. You can't pay someone to carry a child, and the biological mother holds legal rights unless a formal adoption occurs. So, if Meghan had used a surrogate, which again is not confirmed, there would have been legal steps required that never surfaced. No paperwork, no announcements, no trail. But that legal silence only deepened the suspicion. Because once people start asking questions about a royal baby's legitimacy, it's nearly impossible to shut them down. And the fallout didn't just affect Meghan, it hit Harry too. To this day, there are people who question the legitimacy of Archie and Lilibet's royal status, not because of who they are, but because of how their parents handled their births. And the real tragedy? The ones who suffer most from this mess are the children themselves, caught in a cloud of rumors that could have been avoided with one simple act: transparency. But Meghan wasn't interested in tradition. She wanted to control the narrative. And that control, according to insiders, is exactly what backfired next. Because Buckingham Palace was forced into a corner they never wanted to enter. Behind closed doors at Buckingham Palace, something had shifted. The public didn't see it, the headlines didn't scream it, but insiders say the relationship between Meghan, Harry, and the rest of the royal family was never the same after Archie's birth. Not because of the baby, but because of what surrounded his arrival: confusion, secrecy, and what many saw as defiance. For the royals, an institution obsessed with image, protocol, and centuries-old tradition, what Meghan and Harry had done was unthinkable. They didn't just bend the rules, they threw them out entirely. And while the palace stayed polite in public, sources say there was growing resentment behind the scenes. According to royal insiders, some senior members were furious. They believed Harry and Meghan had played the media, disrespected royal doctors, and made a mockery of the crown's transparency. One palace aide allegedly called it a full-blown PR disaster. But the problem ran deeper than press strategy. This wasn't just about skipping a photo op or delaying an email. This was about trust and what happens when two royals begin treating their role like a brand instead of a duty. It wasn't just Archie's birth that triggered alarm. It was how every question surrounding it was met with half answers, PR spin, and vague explanations. Dan Wooten shared how he personally questioned the palace about the inconsistencies, and while they answered on record, their responses only made things murkier. Why was Meghan's labor announced after the birth? Why did the palace deny a birth had taken place, then suddenly post it on Instagram? For a monarchy already under pressure to modernize, Meghan and Harry's rogue behavior became a tipping point. According to commentators, some senior royals began to push for action, not just to protect tradition, but to send a message. That's when whispers about removing Harry and his children from the line of succession grew louder. It may sound extreme, but for a family whose legacy depends on bloodlines, tradition, and credibility, this wasn't just personal, it was institutional. If the crown was to survive another generation, it had to draw a line, and that meant making an example, even if it came at a cost. But the palace didn't want a public war. So instead of confrontation, they used silence. They let the couple hang themselves with their own contradictions. And slowly, behind the scenes, they began tightening the ropes, distancing Harry from royal duties, withholding titles, and quietly removing privileges. The message was clear: you can walk away, but you don't get to walk back in. But Meghan and Harry weren't done yet, because just as the palace thought the storm had passed, a brand new move sent shockwaves through the monarchy and pushed the crisis to a global stage. And what happened next wasn't just backlash, it was exposure. In the end, it wasn't one scandal, one interview, or even one baby announcement that fractured the foundation. It was the slow, quiet erosion of trust, driven by secrecy, control, and a refusal to play by the rules. Meghan and Harry didn't just break from tradition. According to critics, they broke the monarchy's unwritten contract with the public: transparency in exchange for privilege, duty in exchange for legacy. And that legacy, it's now under scrutiny like never before. Because while Meghan and Harry built a brand on victimhood and reinvention, the institution they left behind has been left picking up the pieces. Royal experts say conversations that once felt taboo are now happening openly. Should Harry remain in the line of succession? Should his children? Has the crown already drawn the line, silently, behind the scenes? For now, nothing official has been stripped. No titles lost, no succession changes confirmed, but something has already shifted, and it may be irreversible. The public's trust has cracked, and inside the palace, that trust may have already shattered. Today, Meghan's every move is met with skepticism. Harry's words are weighed against decades of silence. Their children, sadly, are growing up in a storm they didn't create, but one that now surrounds them because of choices made long before they could speak. The monarchy has always survived by adapting. But this time, the challenge isn't modernity, it's identity. What happens when royals stop acting royal? What happens when tradition becomes optional? And most of all, what happens when the line between fact and fiction disappears entirely? One thing's for sure, the royal game has changed, and the palace, they may be smiling on the balcony, but behind closed doors, the consequences have already begun.